The Court of Public Opinion is a part of the Amateur Radio Network. You're listening to the Court of Public Opinion. This broadcast is also simulcast at TalkShoe. I will also probably try to upload it at SoundCloud, but right now you can find all the additional links there below in the description box. After kind of sorting through a lot of stories regarding child trafficking, especially that being one of the more primary topics we've been covering, I guess where I've come to the point where, I guess the moral question for me as a person, as somebody who's listening to a broad spectrum of information regarding this specific topic, it comes down to good and evil, what's moral and what's not. And I guess you could probably question this. I've heard people throw out a few theories. I would say that humanity, as precious as humanity is, there are just some things you have to ask the overall moral question. Does this really matter to a large majority of people? Now, if you take one person at a time, yeah. But if you look overall, these topics aren't exactly very, well, they're provocative and they're hard to report on. It's drained me. It's consumed my time. I know I could be doing other things. There's plenty of people I can see that they're not moved to the degree that some of us are. It's because the more you dig away at this, more you start to ask the deeper questions. There hasn't been a night since these stories have broke that I haven't been moved by it some way, somehow emotionally. So I know inherently that's my soul. That's when I'm crying and I feel for another person. That's the soul. The human side of me gets angry. It wants to attack and say all kinds of things. So I know that there's just balance. There's the human side. And then there's the bigger part of me, which is my soul. And I guess when I question the things of life, people have asked, well, why would God allow it? And I think that's a fair question to ask, but I don't think God allows it. If you really understand the human experience, that what human beings were here to do, it all changed according to the Bible in the garden. And man was created with one purpose: to serve God and to look after creation. That was primarily, Adam was the father of humanity, if you will. And that being because he was given this instruction to take care of earth, or paradise at that time. So once those rules changed, everything else about will came into play, knowledge of good and evil. I mean, so we have been plagued as part of becoming aware of this is you have to mature, outgrow some things. And I know I've grown up a lot recently. There are a lot of things I used to think casually about. I didn't look too deep into it, but unfortunately we have seen an ugly side of the world. Imagine how ugly that world is for a child, and to me, somewhere along the line you will encounter it. To me, it goes to the loss of innocence, and I don't think innocence is lost. I just think it's robbed of something, and some people find out at an early age that evil exists. Do I think that some people look away at it? Yes, I definitely do that. I definitely think that's because for obvious reason. I think that we only have a capacity for so much. I won't watch horror movies. There's plenty of horror there to make up for it. So I don't entertain myself with horror. I don't do that. But when it comes to reality, and I know that there's a side of humanity that would love to pretend that this doesn't happen, then that to me is creating this fallacy and fantasy. To me, that's not based in reality. Okay, that doesn't mean we live there. Okay, I hope people get this. We don't have to live in that reality, but we're aware of it, and I would be provoked that we would go beyond being just aware of it, but actively trying to change that. I mean, there's this quote that was, I'm sorry if I don't remember his names, but all it takes for evil to continue is when good people do nothing. And if good people do nothing, then we are not going to have a civilized society. Governments were created with the intention to create civilization. And laws were to keep man from doing the unthinkable crimes. And if crimes are not, I mean, if there's no basis for justice, then what you'll end up having is anarchy, and anarchy creates another problem. Okay, and looking at some of the protests over the last couple months, especially, there's one right now, a protest, I believe, in Lebanon. When lawlessness is run, when somebody's in control or in position of control, lawlessness, they have to have a military to control the people. So looking at the different forms of government, communism is to control people. So we're looking at, if you could silence your opposition, that's a form of control. It's a form of tyranny. And we've been talking about this topic so much, about child abuse. I don't want to just broaden it, but just leave it there for now. It's a form of terrorism to me. It terrorizes people. It's terrifying for a family to have witnessed it and lived through it. And most people you'd hear about generally all say the same thing. You're never really the same. It's true. I think that's true. But again, I want to be able to say we can move past this. We have to. It's in order to survive. We don't have to just survive, though. We can live. And we can live with the understanding. This is where I think morals, ethics, and faith come in. Because without faith, without hope, you'll die. Surely without faith in God's goodness. And I think that's why people turn to religion. I think a lot of people do turn for answers. I would say that, to me, God is not a religion, but man-made religion has made up their own rules. That's why we have denominations. That's why many people talk about theology, eschatology, dispensations. It's obvious that it categorizes, and so it's all segmented to some degree. It's obvious that churches have branched off and become segmented. I brought this up because it's a summary of what we've been previewing. I could see two things to this that make sense. And now, how you apply that I'd like to know someone's feedback on this. But, whatever we entertain, if this is just my only focus, if I'm just only focusing on this, then I'm going to be so focused, which I think that's easy to do regarding this topic. But if I'm only focused on that, I'm not looking at the other things, the other facets, the other components. Like, how does this affect an audience? How does this affect my family? How does it affect my significant other? If we're just only talking about this. And that being the key concern, because people say, well, you're only focused on this. You're not looking at the larger picture. And it is hard to do that. It is hard to break away from that when you're only seeing things from this angle. Okay, so maybe I would like to think that my hope is that as we get better, more informed, educated on how to be better aware, better prepared, or better informed, we're going to continue to follow people that talk about topics, because we're going to get a variety of opinions, variety of information. Some I really like. And that's obviously why we address it at the Court of Public Opinion. I rarely do a Sunday morning show, and I was just thinking about getting ready to go to church. But I had to do this to just to park it here for a moment, because I know I'm personally challenged. I have challenges with this, because it is emotional, and I've I have to tell you, we need it's to support each other. I need that support from others, or I don't know how else we can do it. I've heard the claims that there is a propaganda media. Well, I guess what my question is, why do people still go back to it if they don't like the propaganda? Why do we even react to it? I guess these are things I ask myself. If you don't like it, then why do you respond to it? And I've heard, I'm not. I don't like listen to everything everybody says is Bible. I do weigh out a lot of information here. I guess that's the question I have to ask myself: is if you're so bothered by it, why to respond to it? I hear a lot of negative responses, and it doesn't even sound right coming from people who might hold themselves with moral authority. I absolutely agree. We all should have a degree of moral authority, but I don't even understand that something that basic right now. It doesn't sound right coming from somebody who's supposed to be more righteous than another. And it goes back to the same question, and I'm going to put some links about it as we wrap this up. It's just, I don't want to question someone's character or morality. That's not what I want to do. I'm responding to some of the more superficial debates. Like, in this case, the debate should be, to me, is that why do we even respond to it? Why do we even react to it? I mean, why do I even respond to all these videos if I don't get feedback? If I don't hear from somebody in the description box or below the description box, then why should I even entertain this? Well, to me, I think that's every personal challenge we might encounter at some point. So I don't think it's like I just throw away an important point, because I have an opinion, obviously, or I wouldn't be making this. I didn't want to unravel all this to say that like somehow this is something very simple, but it does come to some simple points. I won't respond to certain things. I'll shut it off. I don't want to entertain too much of the nonsense that I hear about. And I'm not saying, and I don't mean to say it's just nonsense. I just think the reaction is kind of it's not worth my time. There's just too many other things I could be doing with my time, and then responding to everything that Rachel Maddow said. I didn't even respond to it. You won't hear a response, because to me, it's not even, to me, I don't even look to her for real news. I don't know where anyone, if you're looking for facts and information, I know plenty of liberal people that will fact check their information too. They may just have a whole different value system altogether. And I hear conservatives that respond not in a way I would want to respond. So that's why I'm glad we can weigh this out. And I look at this as like, are we more apolitical, or we're trying to be more neutral? I'm just trying to weigh it out, because I want to hear a more, instead of hearing people congratulate and pat people on the back for really getting that guy. To me, I don't respond to Rachel Maddow. I don't look at her as real news. Okay, that's just me personally. I've been around enough journalists, and I've been around enough people who hold professional or very professional, who maintain their professional behavior on and off the set. I know a lot of people who have worked in radio who are very not professional on and off the set. They think that, and there's a lot of pride and egos in radio and news. I've seen it on YouTube too. There's a lot of egos. So once you realize that you can get past an ego and you say, hey, listen, it's about the things that do matter, the moral question, the things that are out of balance. And I think the whole question that I think people are asking, and they're asking a deeper question, should this provoke people to ask harder questions? I think we should. I think that we should ask the questions. There are philosophical debates about this. It's a philosophical question. It's a moral. It's a question of morality. I mean, should the public be more informed on a topic regarding child abuse, or in the case of epidemic child abuse, because it's been plaguing our society? I think we finally had an opportunity, and I congratulate all those investigators. I mean, without the vote investigation, we would not have had this great breakthrough. Do I think civilization is at risk of, we're in this question, well, I think we're in a balance of what's good and right and what's moral. Yeah. I think the question, I think deeper, what people want to know is, our society able to rein this in and see justice be done? I absolutely believe that humanity, the way I see people provoked that are willing to drive down to Washington D.C. and put their own hard-earned dollar into this, to me, means something that's meaningful. There are not a lot of people that can, but when a few people do, all you need is a few people to cause change. And looking at all the social activists and social justice, and people would call you snowflake, but without you out there advocating for kids, without people getting the public more informed, in 10, 20 years, it's going to make a difference. Right now, you're just laying the groundwork. That's the truth. Now, I said all those things to bring it to this point. Are we inherently good and evil? I guess you could weigh those things out. I don't think it's I think on a larger scale, we're forcing society. This is how you force the issue into the public, because in order to force change, good change, because 10 years down the road, we might not be recipient. Might not get those quote pats on the backs. Okay, it's not really. But what we're doing is we're laying the groundwork. Because 10, 20 years from now, there will be young adults that will be doing great things because of the hard work we've laid out. And like any foundation, you lay out the foundation first, and you make sure that foundation is built on key principles: freedom, liberty, the ability to speak for yourself, the ability to exercise those rights without keeping those things established. And that is part of our foundation's been cracked. I watched year after year, day after day, news media stories over the last 10 years that was cutting into the very fabric of our foundation, of our freedoms. And if without those foundations of freedoms, without laying the groundwork or reestablishing that, we would end up places God knows. So we're making these changes, and these changes are obvious. It's so important. Keep doing what you're doing. No matter how many questions you might have about all the things of morality, at least pursue. Keep doing the right thing. That's when things really change. Thank you for listening.